The sun was barely cresting over Silverwood Lake when Evelyn Hargrove, the iron-fisted HOA president, led her mob of 20 furious neighbors straight into Daniel Harrington's yard. They came armed, shotguns slung over shoulders, baseball bats gripped tight, demanding he hand over the deed to his lakeside cabin right then and there. "This land belongs to the community now," Evelyn snarled, her voice dripping with false authority, a forged court order clutched in her manicured hand. Daniel stood his ground on the porch, heart pounding, his 16-year-old son Alex frozen beside him. It was the culmination of weeks of harassment, a powder keg of greed and deception that had exploded into outright intimidation. But to understand how it got here, you had to go back 2 weeks, to the day Daniel inherited the place. It had all started with hope. Daniel, a freelance consultant scraping by after a messy divorce, had received word that his grandfather's secluded cabin on Silverwood Lake was now his. The old man had passed quietly, leaving behind a slice of paradise, a cozy 2-story home with weathered siding, a private dock dipping into crystal-clear waters, and acres of untouched shoreline. Daniel packed up his life in the city, loaded the truck with boxes, and moved in with Alex, envisioning lazy afternoons fishing and using the sunlit den as his home office. "This is our fresh start, kid," he told Alex as they unloaded, the boy's eyes wide with excitement at the promise of adventure. The lake shimmered like a mirror. Birdsong filled the air. No traffic, no deadlines, just peace. Or so they thought. That illusion shattered on their 3rd day. Evelyn Hargrove pulled up in her pristine SUV, clipboard in hand, flanked by her lackey Victor, who wielded a laser measuring tool like a weapon. She was the epitome of suburban tyranny, perfectly coiffed hair, a forced smile that never reached her eyes, and an air of entitlement that could sour milk. "Mr. Harrington," she said, her tone saccharine yet sharp, "I'm here about some violations." She cited the grass 3.7 inches tall, exceeding the HOA's strict 3-inch rule, and then dropped the bomb. His entire lakefront was community property, not his to use freely. Victor snapped measurements while Evelyn filmed the whole thing on her phone, twisting Daniel's polite confusion into evidence of defiance. "You're new here, so I'll educate you," she cooed, but her eyes gleamed with malice. Daniel waved his grandfather's deed, insisting the property was private, exempt from any HOA nonsense. Evelyn laughed it off. "Deeds can be misinterpreted. You have 24 hours to mow that lawn and clear off the shore or face fines. And trust me, you don't want to be the neighborhood pariah." As she drove away, Daniel felt a chill. This wasn't just bureaucracy, it was personal. Alex, overhearing from the window, muttered, "She's nuts, Dad. Who cares about grass height?" The next morning, Evelyn returned with reinforcements, 5 burly compliance officers in matching polo shirts, towing a portable printer that spat out a $200 fine on the spot. Violations? Unauthorized lake access, disruption of community harmony, even the audacity of parking his truck in his own driveway. She thrust a laminated map at him, claiming the HOA owned the waterfront since some vague amendment years back. Again, she recorded everything, her phone capturing Daniel's growing frustration as if he were the aggressor. "Show me the legal docs proving your authority," he demanded, voice rising. Evelyn smirked. "Compliance first, questions later. Or we'll make your life hell." Alex piped up from the porch. "This is ridiculous, it's our land." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Watch it, boy. The community doesn't tolerate troublemakers." Fuming, Daniel dove into research that night, poring over HOA laws online while Alex explored the cabin's dusty basement. That's when the boy found it. A hidden safe behind a loose panel, cracked open with the combo from Grandpa's old letters. Inside was a bombshell note scrawled in the old man's shaky hand. "Beware the vultures circling our shore. Fight them with truth." Accompanying it were treasures, an official 1987 survey map confirming the lakefront as private property, a 2008 court ruling exempting the cabin from HOA jurisdiction, a letter detailing Evelyn's repeated harassment of Grandpa, grainy photos of her schmoozing with a slick developer from Riverside Estates Incorporated, and documents exposing her scams, forged signatures on petitions, kickbacks from land deals. It painted Evelyn as a fraudster, using the HOA as a front to seize prime real estate for profit. Their neighbor, Tom Riley, dropped by unannounced, a grizzled fisherman with a knowing grin. Seen Evelyn's crew sniffing around? She's tight with those developers, wants to turn this lake into condos. Here's more proof. He handed over fresh photos of Evelyn at a shady meeting, cash changing hands. Daniel's blood boiled. This wasn't just about rules, it was corruption, pure and simple, sparking debates in his mind about property rights versus so-called community good. Was the HOA a protector or a predator? Armed with evidence, Daniel planned his counterattack. Alex rigged a hidden camera in the living room. When Evelyn showed up again, this time alone with Victor, Daniel laid it all out. The maps, the ruling, the incriminating photos. "You're done harassing us," he said firmly. Evelyn's face twisted, but she recovered quickly, pulling out a petition signed by 53 residents. "The community demands you leave for safety reasons. You're unstable, Mr. Harrington. See? He's threatening us." Victor nodded obediently. She Invitedno ordered Daniel to a community meeting that night. "Come defend yourself. If you dare." An anonymous note slipped under the door warned him. "It's a trap. Check county records on Riverside Estates." Daniel did, uncovering ties between Evelyn and multi-state land grabs. At the meeting in the stuffy community hall, the ambush unfolded. Evelyn projected doctored photos of Daniel's yard as a blight, played clipped audio making him sound unhinged, and paraded witnesses paid off neighbors reciting scripted tales of his disruptive behavior. The legal expert she introduced? The same developer from the photos, dismissing Daniel's documents as fakes. The crowd, whipped into a frenzy, voted overwhelmingly to restrict his lake access, cheers echoing like a lynch mob. It was controversial theater, one man's rights trampled by mob rule, raising ugly questions about democracy in microcosm. As the hall emptied, Deputy Lisa Ramirez pulled Daniel aside. "This stinks of setup. Evelyn's gunning for more, watch your back." Her words proved prophetic. At dawn, Evelyn stormed the yard with her armed posse, waving that forged order. "Hand over the deed, or we'll take it," she bellowed, guns glinting in the early light. Daniel's hands shook as he recorded on his phone, refusing to budge. Alex dialed 911, whispering urgently. The air crackled with tension, one wrong move, and it could turn bloody. Neighbors shouted slurs, bats raised, debating in heated whispers whether this was justice or vigilantism. Sirens wailed as police cruisers screeched in, led by Deputy Ramirez. She slapped cuffs on Evelyn mid-rant, charging her with fraud, intimidation, and conspiracy. Tom had delivered the knockout punch. County records exposing Riverside's bribes, combined with Grandpa's files. Revelations poured out Evelyn's 3-year reign of terror, scamming families out of homes across states, all for developer payoffs. As her supporters slunk away, Alex live-streamed the arrest, turning the tables. Evelyn screamed about fake news and community betrayal, but her empire crumbled. 3 weeks later, a humbled community gathered again. Neighbors apologized, sharing horror stories of Evelyn's extortion fines that bankrupted families, threats that silenced dissent. They exposed the full scheme, selling off lakefronts to Riverside for luxury builds, displacing locals in the name of progress. It sparked fiery debates. Were HOAs tools for the elite, or could they be redeemed? Daniel, elected interim president, pushed new bylaws emphasizing support over control, no more petty rules, just real community aid. In the cabin's quiet, Daniel found Grandpa's final letter in a time capsule. "Unity beats bullies every time. Guard this haven." But peace felt fragile. As father and son fished one evening, a black SUV from Riverside Estates idled on the road, watching. The threat lingered, a shadow over the lake, whispering that the fight was far from over.